Hello, everyone. As a professor of taxation, I know that the Canadian tax system can seem, well, pretty overwhelming, especially when you're new to the country. But it really doesn't have to be. My goal here is to cut through the complexity and show you why filing your taxes is one of the single most important financial steps you can take here in Canada.
So let's just kick things off with the most important question of all. Because you see, filing taxes in Canada for the first time, it's often less about what you might owe the government and way more about what the government could be sending back to you. We're talking about potentially thousands of dollars.
Okay, first things first. Before we even talk about filling out forms, we have to figure out if Canada considers you a resident for tax purposes. And here's the part that trips a lot of people up. This has almost nothing to do with your immigration status.
So this is the key takeaway right here. Being a tax resident isn't about what your passport says. It's about your life and your connections here in Canada. And what that means in practical terms is that many temporary residents, international students, people on work permits, are very often considered tax residents and are expected to file a return. So how does the Canada Revenue Agency, or CRA, figure this out? Well, they start by looking for what they call primary ties. These are the big ones. If you have a home here, doesn't matter if you own or rent, or if your spouse or your kids live here in Canada, then you're almost certainly going to be considered a tax resident. These are the strongest connections you can have.
But it doesn't stop there. The CRA also looks at your secondary ties to get the full picture. And these are the everyday things you might not even think about. We're talking about having a Canadian bank account, a car, your driver's license, your health card, even memberships in local clubs or organizations. All of these little things help establish your life here, and therefore your tax residency. All right, so let's say you've looked at the ties and you figured out, okay, yep, I'm a tax resident. What's next? Well, the next question is, are you legally required to file? Let's go over the situations where filing isn't just a good idea, it's actually mandatory. This list covers the most common reasons. I mean, if you owe tax, that's an obvious one. You have to file. But also, if the CRA sends you a letter asking you to file, you have to do it. Or if you earned more than just $3,500. Selling property, like a condo, or needing to repay benefits you received. Those are also major triggers that make filing a legal requirement. And I know we've said this before, but it's so important that I'm gonna say it again. The Canada Revenue Agency and the Immigration Department are two totally separate entities. The CRA has its own rulebook, and it uses that rulebook to decide if you're a tax resident, completely independent of your visa or permanent residency status. Now, we get to what I think is the most important part of this whole explainer. We've talked about when you have to file. Now let's talk about why you should file every single year, even if the law doesn't force you to. And yes, even if you had zero income. This is where the real opportunity is hidden.
I get this question all the time. Maybe you're a student or you just arrived late in the year and you think, I didn't make any money, so why on earth would I file a tax return? It's a totally logical thought, but let me tell you, that assumption could be costing you a lot of money. Just look at the difference here. It's night and day. If you don't file, you get nothing. Zero. No chance of a refund, no benefit payments. You also don't build up room to save for retirement in an RRSP, and you lose any tuition credits you might have. But if you file, you open the door to all of it. Not filing is literally leaving money on the table. So let's zoom in on these benefits. This is the real payoff for taking the time to file your return. This is the why. I want you to reframe how you think about your tax return. It is not a bill. It is your application form. It is the single document the government uses to determine if you qualify for a whole host of federal and provincial programs that are designed to help with the cost of living. And here are just a handful of the big federal ones. The GST/HST credit, that's money the government sends you 4 times a year to help offset the sales tax you pay. The carbon rebate is another quarterly payment. And for anyone with children, the Canada Child Benefit is an absolute game changer. I really want this number to sink in. For a family with just one child under the age of 6, you could get up to $7,787 a year. That's over $600 every single month, tax-free, deposited right into your bank account, and the only thing you have to do to get it is file a tax return. It's that simple. And it's not just about the immediate cash. Filing your taxes helps build your financial foundation in Canada for the long term. Every dollar you earn creates room to save for retirement in an RRSP. If you're a student, you build up tuition credits that you can use later to slash your tax bill once you start working. It's truly an investment in your own future.
Okay, so I hope by now you're thinking, all right, I'm convinced I need to file. So let's get down to the brass tacks. How do you actually do it?
You'll want to mark your calendar. The tax year in Canada is just the regular calendar year. Filing season usually kicks off in late February, but the one day you absolutely need to remember is April 30th. That's the deadline for most people to get their return in.
And you've got a few ways to get it done. Honestly, the vast majority of Canadians use certified tax software online. Many of them are easy to use, and some are even free. If your situation feels complicated, you can hire a professional. And I really want to highlight the free volunteer tax clinics. They are a fantastic resource for people with a modest income. Paper is still an option, but it's really slow.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Your knowledge has a direct impact on your wallet. By just understanding these basics, you're empowering yourself to get the biggest refund you can and to claim every single benefit that you are entitled to as a resident of Canada. Look, filing your first tax return is a huge milestone. It's a key part of setting up your financial life here. You've already navigated the incredible challenge of moving to a new country. This is just the next step. So are you ready to claim the full financial benefits that are waiting here for you?